So my name's Tim Potocic, and I'm a local Hamiltonian. I have to read that. Basically I'm here today to talk about culture in Hamilton, the evolution of culture, basically over kind of the last decade or so, and how I've been part of it, been lucky to be part of it, and how the community has grown. So basically we're looking at a slide of James Street North, and my friends are going to hit the go button for me here. It's a little bit of a time-lapse video of what happened about 5 years ago at one of our festivals. We took one of our stages and decided we would set a little camera up and see what happened during the day. It was one of those things that we thought would be kind of fun to do, fun to show people. So basically what I'm going to do is immediately talk about sort of where Supercrawl is at today. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk about really the origins of how it started and how it's evolved, and how from the original concept of what the event was to what it really means to the community today is really quite different from where it started. So currently we're heading into our 8th year. It's a festival that basically we're trying to challenge the community, we're trying to challenge ourselves, we're trying to do things that are different, we're trying to create an environment within this downtown core of Hamilton that hasn't been seen in Hamilton, and something hopefully that at some point, things that will never be seen in any other cities within Hamilton. So at the start of basically the event, I'm going to click to the next slide. This is sort of, I'm going to give you a bunch of slides about sort of where we're at today, where Supercrawl's evolved to. When we started the event, it was pretty much 100% Hamiltonians, and I'll get to sort of the beginnings, the beginning orientation of what Supercrawl was in a little bit, but we've evolved to the point now where we're seeing that percentage of Hamiltonians is going down, but that number tends to continue to rise as a total percentage of people that are coming to the event. And we're starting to draw people from other cities into Hamilton, and that wasn't an original goal, but it's a huge goal of ours now, where we're trying to draw people from the Toronto region, the Ottawa region, from Quebec. We're running some interesting things with flying people from Calgary and Edmonton this year, from contest winners that will be able to be flying people into the city to see different initiatives. But when we started, it was really just for Hamilton, just an experiment to see what we could do. Where we're at sort of from the perspective of what we can provide to the community, we find we do these surveys every year, and through these surveys we get feedback from the community, and the community basically is telling us they're very satisfied with what we're doing, but we're not satisfied until we get that number up to 100%. We've never been at 100%, but at some point we are going to be at 100%. We're trying to raise the first-time visitors to the event so that we're getting new people out, and one of those initiatives is through McMaster. We want to get the first-year students down to the event every year. We want them to come to Hamilton for the first time and see how amazing the city can be, not only on campus, but off campus. And one of the other major things that we're trying to do is we're trying to increase spending within the community and trying to get people to engage in culture. This is another sort of some interesting facts of the people that are coming to the event, the types of new initiatives that we're running every year. One of the cool things that we've brought on is now that we have Sobe bikes within Hamilton, we're trying to track and relate and force people to get on those bikes and drive bikes downtown Hamilton. It's a big initiative that just within Hamilton itself, we're trying to change the community, trying to get people out on bikes, trying to create active streets, trying to create an environment where it's not all car traffic all the time. So last year we had over 1,100 people drive Sobe bikes down. And what we've done is we've created Supercrawl is now a giant hub. So normally when you ride a Sobe bike up and you hook it up to the hub, there's those hub statistics. Now you can ride a Sobe bike to Supercrawl, park it anywhere within the festival boundaries, and you're considered within the Sobe area, within a Sobe hub, and it's registered as a ride. This year, we're going to be activating with students, so spread the word. The word will be coming out more and more, but spread the word amongst the student population. We want to do a massive Sobe ride from McMaster, so we're hoping to do at least 200 to 300 bikes from McMaster, get kids to basically get on those bikes and people without Sobe bikes and do a massive ride on Friday night down to Supercrawl. I want a Main Street takeover, so I want to see everybody just like a massive amount of Sobe bikes coming down to Supercrawl all at once. Basically to our main stage area. Other interesting statistics about the festival now is sort of where we've been able to take our social media and digital statistics, how we've been able to continue to rise them. We're at that million number where we're finally hitting a million people out on social media on different varieties and different mediums. I want that number to be like 100 million. So we're just sort of scratching the surface. We finally got an M beside our 1, so that's like nice. And it's like, hey, we hit the million, great. But we're nowhere near where we want to be, so we're trying to develop those things and work with basically younger student populations to try to increase those numbers as we move forward. A big part of what we do at Supercrawl, and this was not something that we intended on doing when we started the festival, was the economic impact that we are able to secure within the city of Hamilton. So this is a number that continues to rise every year. We're basically at an average of 10 million over the last 3 years. And it makes me feel great to know that we are able to contribute back to the community, back to the people that have supported the festival in the first place, and back to Hamilton in general, with massive economic impact to retailers, to restaurant owners, to people that run, general retail shops, to the people that activate within the festival. It's critical to the growth of the festival. It's critical to culture. It's critical to being able to continue to fund incredible events like this, being able to use a number like this. Festivals and people in the culture business really need to be able to activate and understand the business of running culture as well, and being able to prove that you can have an economic impact like this even though you're running a free festival. Most people would say, oh, free festival. There's no there's no impact to the community with a free festival. Nobody's paying for a ticket or anything like that, but you're tremendously wrong if you're thinking like that, and we're able to provide this great economic impact to the city of Hamilton. So how did we get there? Well, the festival in itself was an experiment. So I don't know how many of you in the room have been. Hands up. Hey, all right. Big numbers. All right. Put your hand up even if you haven't been. How many of you were there 8 years ago? There we go. That's the hands I was looking for. None. So 8 years ago when we started the festival, basically it was an experiment. It was an experiment to really see if we could do anything, if we could get extra people downtown. So what had been happening a couple years prior to that was there's an event called Art Crawl that happens on the second Friday of every month. And this event had been going on for a couple years, and really it was started by 2 gallery owners in Hamilton. 2 very interesting individuals that were running gallery openings that were way ahead of the curve, like miles ahead of the curve, opening a gallery on James Street, downtown Hamilton. 10 or 15 years ago, most people would have shrugged their shoulders and said, what? What are you doing? So these people were basically the forerunners of what is happening within Hamilton. So they were running their gallery openings, going about their business, and then, running into one another. Because if you were walking downtown Hamilton about 10 to 15 years ago, there was a lot fewer people to run into than there are today. So they'd run into one another on the street and have chats. And one day it dawned on them that maybe we should do our openings on the same night. If we did our openings on the same night, the 20 people that are coming to see my opening will come to your opening, and the 20 people that are coming to my opening will come to your opening, and then we'll each have 40. Imagine that's like doubling our attendance immediately. So very brilliant idea, sharing and collaborating with one another. So basically what they did was they decided that they would do that. And on the first night, miraculously, what happened was the people that went to the early opening all went to the late opening, and vice versa. So really, it was sort of a groundbreaking thing, very simple, collaborative initiative that spawned basically where we're at today on James Street North. So while that was happening, they decided, well, we're doing these monthly openings, maybe we should start telling more people about them. And then people within the community of James Street who were in the arts as well started talking about it as well. And then lo and behold, after a few months, knowing that there was going to be people down on the street, the people that owned restaurants were like, maybe we can capitalize on this too, and maybe we can offer some, some restaurant, try to convince people to come in and have food before they go to the openings, and then before you know it, the restaurants started getting full. So we witnessed this. I run a business in that area called Sonic Unyon, which is a local record company, and we were putting shows on in our building, and I don't mind saying it, they were very illegal and amazing. But basically these little basement hardcore shows that really shouldn't have ever happened, and we did some shows up in our top floor of our building also that should have never happened. We did an Alexis on Fire show up there where we had 660 kids simultaneously jumping on the floor, and my entire staff left the building because they thought the building was going to cave in, and I sat at my desk writing their check for their settlement right underneath the stage as the dust was falling on my head. It was the best moment ever, and I'm like, I'm staying right here. If I get killed by the floor, it'll be, I don't know, it'll be in the paper. We were doing these things alongside Art Crawl, so we were positioning on these Friday nights as well, so trying to add to it. So basically, what ended up happening was one day we're sitting around our office and we're like, Art Crawl's really cool, like at this point now there's about 300 people or so that are coming out to the event, and it's really, really fun, and how do we get more people? And knowing, the music industry guys sort of on the street, we're like, well, music draws people. Music will probably draw more people than maybe art openings would, but those people that come to music will also go to the art openings because those people that come to see music shows are pretty open-minded and they're going to want to see new, interesting things. So why don't we add a music component to Art Crawl? And we thought, okay, good idea. Let's go and meet with all of our friends on the street and see if we can put this idea together, see if it will be palatable to the community. Basically what we did was we called a meeting. So we put 20 people around a table, sort of the people within the community that were the taste makers, the ones that were really pushing the envelope, the people that were working really for free to make Art Crawl a reality. And we proposed this idea. What if we take a block of the street and we close it and we put a stage and we bring some of our friends, musicians from Toronto and local musicians, and we get them to perform, and it'll be really cool, and maybe we can draw some more people. And of course, around the table, everybody was like, yeah, that's an awesome idea. And we're like, great, who wants to do it? Because we didn't want to be presumptuous to be us to do it. We wanted to put it out to the community, and basically everybody around the table was, we're not doing that. You guys are the music guys, you do it. We don't want to take the risk. We don't want to deal with the city of Hamilton. We don't want to close the street. We don't want to deal with the insurance. We don't want to have any of these liability issues. And we were like, okay, seemed like a good idea. So I convinced my business partner that this was smart. And he reluctantly said yes. He's the money guy, and I'm the let's spend the money guy. Basically I was like, Mark, I think we could maybe, let's try it and see, maybe we could do something. Maybe, we'll get into the events business a little bit and see if we can make this fly downtown Hamilton. So basically our whole MO was, let's try and get some more people out to Art Crawl. So we had, at that point in time, 16 weeks to pull this off. And we thought, okay, 16 weeks, no problem. So we rallied around the city, and the city let us take this one block closure. They let us close the street from 6 o'clock at night to 11 p.m. And we booked a bunch of bands, and we rallied around to try to find some people to fill up the street with retailers, because we thought, well, if we put some booths on the street and nobody comes, it'll still look like there's somebody there, because the booths will be on the street and nobody will know it was a disaster if it fails. So basically we did that. And this is a slide of one of the more current stages that we have at Supercrawl, but it was something very similar to that, where we're activating with youth groups and local musicians to pull off a pretty cool, fun time. So in this experiment, all of our friends rallied together. Our company took the initiative as far as having to deal with the cost, the insurance, the liability, and really taking the risk, and we put this event on. So at that point in time, like I had said, Art Crawl was drawing 250 to 300 people, and we did our first Supercrawl in October in the rain, much similar to last year, and we got 3,000 people out. And while we were in it, and it was happening. We were like, this is so amazing, this is great, look at all the people, this is so good. And we were trying to get some data, trying to capture as much as we could photography, and trying to figure out how many people actually were there and do an accurate count. We sat down the next week after we disassembled it all and brought everybody back together, and we thought, wow, that was a massive success. We basically took Art Crawl from 300 to 3,000. Let's see what happens over the next few months as Art Crawl goes, and see if we've managed to impact what can happen on the monthly Art Crawl. This is a nice picture of Art Crawl. It's one of my favorites. That's a Jelly Brothers photograph that they're looking at. Other local institution. So basically, watching what happened over those few months, we noticed that Art Crawl attendance went from 300 and was creeping up to 500 and 600 people. And we're like, wow, we must have, in some small way, we've definitely had an impact on shining the light on what's going on downtown Hamilton. So we let it go for about 3 or 4 months. We're like, great, awesome, park that idea. Maybe we'll do it again, we'll see. And then when the springtime happened in the next year, we started coming around and thinking, okay, let's do this again. So basically what we ended up doing was spending about 6 months on the next one, thinking, okay, what can we do? Do we want to increase the size of this thing? How much risk do we want to take? Can we get the city of Hamilton to increase our budget? Can we get people to engage? Can we get more local community people involved with the event? Not just the James Street North corridor group of artists. And we thought, yes, we can do that. We've got 6 months, we can pull this together. So really what ended up happening was that slideshow was the second year. That stage time lapse that I had, the first slide was basically the second year what happened. And we went from a 1-block closure to a 2-block closure. And one of the models that we sort of went back to that we've always used with our record company when we were developing artists is that, you're never going to be huge. You're never going to be, Twitter tomorrow or Supercrawl tomorrow or whatever, right? You're never going to be this massive thing overnight. It takes time, and you have to build it, and we've always had this idea of building things in concentric circles. So have your if you're 1-block closure this year, then you're a 2-block closure next year, and see how 2 blocks goes, and manage that growth, and work with the community to manage that growth, and slowly build these things with the capacity that you have, and try not to get too big too fast. So we were really lucky with the organic growth that we had through the festival, and the people that we had, and all the people that donated time and still donate time to the event to have it grow the way that it has grown. It's a nice picture of the Arkells a couple of years ago. That was probably, as still today, that was our biggest year because we had rain last year. So what we ended up doing over those early years was basically building a community around us, and as we were building a community, we were building the event right alongside it. So we took a 1-block closure with 3,000 people to a 2-block closure, and we had just over 20,000 people in the second year, and we thought, oh my God, once we hit that sort of perspective, once we got into those types of numbers, we thought, okay, we were very, very much onto something. And then we started reaching out to further community. So initially it was local artists and some of our friends from outside of the local area. Then it turned into, okay, now we have to engage with agents from, the bigger agents from Toronto and Vancouver. We've got to start spreading this word across bigger platforms. And now we're working with global agencies. We're bringing artists from all over the world to Supercrawl. And these are all slow, natural build things. They're not things that can happen overnight. And one of the other interesting things that we've really tried to do is, like I've said a couple times, but working with our local community has been very critical in how we manage and build the festival. Without the local community, without the local support of all of even the institutional organizers within town, the AGH, for example, is a partner. On the culture side, all of the bigger institutions within Hamilton are pretty much partnered in some way with Supercrawl. We go right down to the grassroots level, so it's very important for us to manage and work with local artists and bring those local artists from, nurture their careers from nothing to something. So we've developed a strategy over the festival where we're working with local artists, so we make sure that we have at least 50% of all of the programming that we do at the event is local. And generally we're over that sort of 50%, we're usually at 60 or 70%. But working with those people on all levels, the Arkells level, but also the baby bands that are just starting out, people that have been in bands a year and are starting to get a little bit of a vibe going. People, we have some very interesting things I don't want to talk about too much that we have coming on for this year, but we have some very interesting things that are coming on the diversity side where we've got tabla players coming this year. I have a local guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a professional gong player. And I'm like, these are the types of things that we want to bring to Supercrawl. Like, what other festival do you know has got guys playing gongs? Come on, it's going to be the best. I can't wait to see him up there with his like multitude of gongs. I'm a drummer, so you know I'm kind of partial to guys with gongs, but it's going to be pretty cool. And so we try to bring all those different, unique sort of elements to the event where I think a lot of our peer festivals don't. We want to be cutting edge. We want to do things that are unorthodox. So a big part of what is unorthodox is that, you know, you can have, click back here, you can have Coral at the event with her crazy puppet outfit, and she's going to appeal to these guys sitting down at their chair waiting for the HPO to come on. So we want to be able to provide a festival that, you know, sort of hits all those demographics where we have a very aggressive children's zone where we're doing things with children's programming, hands-on stuff that we get involved with McMaster Children's University. We get involved with all of the institutions within town to provide really cool programming to get kids involved, because I think having youth involved at Supercrawl is vital. Having youth involved in culture is incredibly important to the growth of the community. It's one of the most important things I feel, like having kids hands-on doing arts and crafts or learning an instrument is like critical critical in their growth and critical in making a community a great place moving forward. So, sort of to conclude, I think that, you know, Supercrawl in itself is an event, and it's only an event, but what we're trying to do is bring community together, bring collaborations together, bring people together from all ages. We want to make it a place where, you know, it's cutting edge, where we're doing things, where we're bringing cutting edge music, but we're not only doing cutting edge music, we're bringing cutting edge art installations. We're doing things with artists that generally wouldn't have an opportunity to do them at any other music related event. We're bringing different types of genres of things together where people can walk down the street, they can see a music artist, then they can walk a little bit further and they can see some crazy clown on a tricycle with fire. I love the clowns and I love fire, so. You know, we want to do these things that break ground, that people, when they walk away from it, go, oh my God, did you see that? Fire, clown. But did you also see the Arkells? Oh my God. So how many times in the world are you going to get the Arkells and the fire clown in the same sentence, right? So, so that's what we want to do. We want to be able to bring those interesting, fun initiatives to the people of Hamilton and outside of the people of Hamilton. And we want the event to be not just a Hamilton event, but we want Supercrawl to help shine a light on the great talent that is happening within our community, because it is, it's extraordinary. It's one of the things that I've really learned over the last 10 years, being in my little music bubble. I know how much tremendous great music talent there is within the Hamilton community, but I didn't realize how much great tremendous talent there was in all these other genres and elements of the community, within fashion, within theater, within the artistic disciplines of painting and sculpture. So I've learned a lot over the last 10 years about how deep this community is and how incredible it is, and we want to shine this massive light on it, and that's what we're trying to do. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say, and it was a real pleasure to be here today. Thank you.